Awesome. We're off. Welcome, everybody, to Hack by a Smile. This is one of our Learn Online Security workshops that we do, talking about the power of social engineering and specifically looking at the base level. So there's sort of three sections that we're going to go through, and I'll try to keep it down to about 40 minutes, but no promises because I tend to get carried away and enjoy talking about this stuff. So we'll dive right into it. Why hack by a smile, or why learn online security in the first place? Well, fraud is costing our communities about $100 per person per year. At least that's what we said it cost when we first started this program a couple years ago. I actually think it might be double that by now. But in a community of Dauphin, like where I live, that's about 10,000 people, that's about $1 million that's lost to fraud each year. So you have to, we said, how can we stop this? You know, if we could keep even half of that in our communities, if we could keep like $500,000 in our community, what would that mean to our community? Well, that would be substantial. That would be money that would be passed on to grandchildren. That would be money that would be invested in different community projects or into the economy or a variety of other things. So we realized that we had the power to equip people, individuals with armor and knowledge so that they could recognize these attacks, these frauds, deflect them, and then we can keep that money in our community. So that's really the heart of what we're up to is helping individual people. So if you look at attacks and you look at fraud in general, I like to think of it like a football game. And whether or not you're into football or not, within the game of football, they spend a lot of time understanding and recognizing plays. And football, more than any other sport, really tailors itself to this type of an understanding because both teams have to set up before the play starts. So they stop in a set position, and you can look at the opposition, whether you're in defense or offense, and you can see, oh, this is the way they're set up. This is the way that people are moving before the snaps. This is what I think they're up to. So they're running this defense, they're running this offense, they're going to run the ball, they're going to pass the ball. And so they'll study a lot of film. And the more film that you study on another team or another coach or another player, you start to understand how they think, what their manners are, their habits are. And so by doing that, you can then uh, get in front of them and take advantage of that and either intercept the ball or whatever the play is. This is what's being done to us by those committing fraud. And our goal is to provide you with enough plays and understanding of how scammers and hackers and all of these people are working so that you can recognize the plays. So before the scam even happens, you're already like, I know that one. I've seen that one before. So what is our problem? So in cybersecurity is the rage right now and everyone talks about it. But typically there's only about 5 plays that were shown. So one, talk about emails all the time. Don't click on bad emails. Okay, we know that. We get phone calls. Like, do you know who you're talking to on the phone? Social media, everything that happens in social media, all the frauds that happen there, uh, software scams, and we talk about passwords all the time. So those are examples of maybe 5 different plays that are used against us. But that's all that we ever focus on. And the problem is that there's hundreds, even thousands, if not millions, of plays that are being used against us all the time. And so the more that we can create those red flags and those understandings, the better that we can expand our knowledge base. So our goal today is to provide you with a broader understanding of what an attack actually is. Show you how social engineering is the largest part of that attack. And if you've never heard of social engineering before, I'm going to explain what that is and give you a few ways right now that you can protect yourself. So part 1, understanding the building blocks. So as we piece this all together, uh, think of these just as individual building blocks that in turn they're going to make sense into a larger picture. But individually, they may not make sense. So first, what is social engineering? So in a nutshell, social engineering is collecting your information and then using that information against you. That's simply what social engineering is. It can be used both good or bad. It's a neutral thing. Our habits. If an attacker can understand your habits, they can predict your actions and plan attacks accordingly. So, for example, how do you make your coffee? Does anyone want to volunteer how they make their coffee?
I
Nobody
don't drink
drinks coffee?
coffee.
I had to stop drinking coffee too, although I started drinking mochas again, which are probably just full of sugar. But
Okay, I'll say double double.
double double. So Tracy has a double double. She goes to Tim Hortons every morning at 6 o'clock on her way to work because she gets up early. If you have the habit, coffee is a really easy thing to pick up on. Another one was when my wife used to work at a gas station when she was young. She had the same customers who would show up at the exact same time and order the same things. She knew their co-op card number already because or their co-op number because you punched it in every single morning, and they also knew that they picked up 2 packs of smokes, whatever it is. There's a predictable habit that we have, and so we have a number of people. I was thinking about the person who just joined us. Welcome. Uh, you have predictable habits by understanding what those habits are, the better you can protect yourself. So 80% of victims of social engineering know their attackers. So what that means is the people that are performing these attacks on you, they're known to you. That doesn't mean that necessarily they're friends or family or anything like that, but they're people that maybe you work with or that you have ran into, a delivery person, a mailman, uh, someone who has shown up at your door. So 80% of victims of social engineering are known to the attacker. So right now we are just going over some basic building blocks, and then from this I'm going to jump into something else. So these slides are slightly unrelated, but yet they're all connected. Another building block that we need to understand is public data versus private data. So public data is information that anyone can find out about you at any given time. And typically we end up using public data in our passwords and things like that. And this is really one of the avenues where you need to understand that, oh, my birth date. Anyone can find out my birth date probably in about a 2-minute search online. They can find my mother's maiden name. They can find the town that I grew up in or where I went to elementary school. All of those typical, like when you used to set up Microsoft, for example, they'd ask these security questions. And so now we actually, whenever we do that and we come across security questions, we use fake answers to those security questions. We don't even put the real answer in anymore. Private data is stuff that should be only belonging to you. Stuff like your sensitive information, like health card numbers or SIN numbers, your exact location at any time in the world should be private data. Now, thanks to phones, lots of that information is not actually private, but we can minimize the amount that our location is shared at any given time. 98% of cyber attacks rely on social engineering. So why is that important? Let's look at some of the really big examples of social engineering. The MGM assault. So it was Saturday, September 10th, not that long ago, 2023. During the day, hustle and bustle, a group called Scatter Spider infiltrated the MGM Resorts with a phone call in under 10 minutes. So this disrupted operations and costed MGM about $8.4 million a day. It was like $100 million cyber claim by the time they were all done. What they had done is they had taken a employee, they found them on LinkedIn, gleaned all of their information from there, built up a whole profile, and then contacted the health support desk for the company and said, "Hey, I'm so and so. I'm locked out of my computer. Can you help me reset my password?" And they had enough information on them that they could get past that step, get the password for that individual, who then had they had learned that this person had admin access into different systems. And then using that person's credentials, they then infiltrated the entire system of MGM. And what that means is if we look at MGM specifically, it's like, okay, that's like MGM Grand, like the in Vegas. And it would take down lottery terminals, elevators, parking garages, like everything you can imagine, hotel keys for like the doors in the hotel. Everything was all tied to their server that they had to pull offline. So Scattered Spider is an example of a top level social engineering specialist. They're not technical people, so they're not the people that are necessarily doing all the hacking. They're dominating by the common street con hustler, and they're after a big payday. They focus on some of the really big targets in the world. The only member caught was 17 years old, so that's really all the information I have on them. Another group, which I think has apparently dissolved, is Alpha V. So Scatter Spider would glean all the information from the organization and then they'd pass it over to another group. So in this case, Alpha V was the ransomware specialist in the attack. They're considered state actors, although we're not sure which state they're working for. And some of the largest ransomware heists in history they've been involved with. They're thought to be part of the Power School breach that happened just last year. So the reason that I mentioned some of these really, really large groups is that if there's big fish in the sea, that means there's a bunch of little fish that are trying to catch up. And it's those little fish that are focusing on us and trying to get our information as they work on their craft to get bigger and bigger targets. So what exactly do attackers get? First, they get access to you. So if I can, in the social engineering sphere, access you and your information, then information is the new currency. The more information I have, the more value it is to me. I get access to your friends and family through you. I get access to your network. So social network, work network, computer network, all of those things. And ultimately, they can pretend to be you, which is an ultimate goal. Then through you, they can use your connections to find their next target, just like a spider web. Okay, so those are just some building blocks. We didn't cover absolutely everything because we, of course, don't have time. But part one, just some building blocks, and you can sort of keep those pieces together. So part two, we're going to jump into what an attack actually is. A hack versus an attack. Most of the time in our culture, society, we are so focused on the most exciting things. And in the case of hacking, the hack is the most exciting thing. However, Hollywood has burned this term and image into our minds that it involves a computer, that it must be a hack. And that's not true at all. The hack, scam, theft, the fraud is only the action of an attack. So let's look at it this way. The reality is that an attack is really long, and the attack starts long before the hack actually happens. So here you can see we have an entire attack, and that little yellow portion is the hack. So think of it like I'm going to walk up and I'm going to kick my brother. Okay. I walk along, I walk up. First, I have to come up with the idea. Then I have to walk over, and then the actual action of kicking my brother. That action of kicking, that's the actual hack, scam, fraud being carried out. So step one, the attackers are deciding on what their actual goal is. So in looking at different organizations, they say, okay, this organization, we can get this from, and what information do we actually want? Step one is just coming up with deciding on what the goal actually is. You as the target might actually just be a building block to the real target. So we think of ourselves as, you know what, I don't have any money. Why in the world would anyone care to attack me? Like, You're welcome to my bank account. There's nothing there. And what we forget about is that we have access to other people. We have access to organizational money. So it may not be you, but maybe you're part of a board or a foundation or something, and they have credit that's attacked to them. Line of credit is also a huge thing. If I can access your account and get access to a line of credit, I can empty your line of credit. Yes, I might not have anything in my bank account, but I do have access to credit. And so that might be actually what they're after. Each level of the plan starts with identifying the objective for that particular plan, that goal. So in this case, we've got our little dude carried over to an ultimate goal. If I look at an example of this, if I get into a large organization, so there's a utility company that was attacked, and all they got from the utility company was a list of customers. Why is that important that a list of customers was that breach happened? Well, now I can buy that list of customers and I can perform an attack on those customers. So in this case, a text message, email was sent out to say, hey, we noticed that there was $10 short on your last bill. Just sending out a note to everyone that if you pay the $10 right now, just through this link, it'll all be taken care of. And there won't be any late charges on it. Sorry, that was our mistake, but here's a link. You can just pay it. So it's like $10. And it went out to over 100,000 people. Well, that attack had like a 90% success rate, and that most people just paid the $10, but there was like 100,000 people. So it was like $1 million payday on that entire attack. And of course, it was fake. There was no utility company error, but that's sort of the stacking of attacks. So, what is social engineering? Social engineering is the longest step of the attack. It can go on for hours, days, or even months. And sometimes attackers will be in a system just hovering, learning, collecting information, and they'll be there depending on the size of the attack and the payday base that depends on how long they're going to be hanging out looking for how they can get paid. So we have our beginning, we have our social engineering, we have our hack or fraud, and then we have our end goal. So once the objective has been accomplished, the attacker will move on or they'll re-engage. So they don't even need to do the social engineering part of it anymore. If they're not detected, then they have the opportunity to re-engage. One of the really best examples of this particular re-engagement type of a scam is like a romance scam, where they have, connected with the individual and said, "Hey, I need $1,000 so I can come visit you." And so someone sends them money, and then, "Oh, I need this much in order." Another good one is I had a friend who they had received a bill for about $300 from this organization that they didn't recognize. And they said, well, they fought with them a little bit, but finally they said, it's only $300. I'll just pay it and move on. As soon as they paid the $300, they received a bill for $3,000. And then they started the whole process over, and then they realized that they had been scammed on the first one. So that's an example of re-engaging the same target over and over to see how much more money you can get out of them. So we've been shown the planning of an attack. So let's create a list of where attackers may go looking for information. Does anyone have any ideas of, if I was an attacker, where I would be going looking for information?
Facebook.
Facebook, okay. Facebook
LinkedIn.
is a good one. LinkedIn, yeah.
Anything online, it seems to me, should be open.
Yeah, basically. The wonderful thing about social engineering is that it is not just tied to technology. I'll use this example. Greg, you'd find this interesting. A while back, you probably heard about it. There was a scam going around southern Manitoba where people were going door to door, collecting donations, pretending that they're from Union Gospel Mission.
Yeah.
And they were not. They were just and this has been done for like Red Cross and other places like that, where someone will just show up. There's no technology involved at all. So social engineering side of things is not just computers. Yes, that has sped up our ability to collect information, and AI is even supercharging that. So that's something to be aware of. But there's some old school ways that we can find out information quickly as well. So with that in mind, any other thoughts you want to throw out there?
Out of
How about your
office.
mail?
Your mail.
Email? Yeah.
Like physical mail that's
Oh,
delivered to
physical.
your
Oh,
house?
yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I was going to say out of office auto replies.
Yes, that's a good one as well. That's
A
tied to a very specific scam.
lot of times, your friends, your friends or your work, or they can get information from that.
Friends are a great place for information. All right, let's jump through these. These are some of the ones that we have, like the list is unending, but company websites. So often company websites will list too much information about employees. Social media, emails, job portals, browser history, photos. The dark web is a great spot for stuff too, if you know how to access it and move around in it. Applications, online directories, text messages, your friends and coworkers, especially at a bar late at night. Who is databases, which is when you have a domain, the information that's attached to that. GitHub and code repositories. This probably doesn't apply to anyone here, but that's when you're into coding. That's where a lot of you showcase your work. Document and image metadata. So the information that's connected to your photos. Physical locations. You think of the old, like not old school, it's used all the time, but private investigators and how they will follow and stalk clients. So those type of physical locations. So straight up phone calls and asking questions. Historical documents. IoT devices. So that's anything like an access point. So if I can figure out what router you're using and that there's a vulnerability in that router and it hasn't been patched, then I can then use that to get into a network. So different things like that I can quickly learn. Your desk is another great one. If you have a lot of public in your office, then the information that you have available on your desk, it can tell me a lot about, who your kids are, what ages they are, where they go to school. So the goal of an attack, the goal is not simply about a cash score. Not all targets have money, but your information is the new currency. So if I can collect your information, I can turn it into a form of currency. I get access to your network, the people that you know, and information about them. Another key thing that people are after is how information flows, specifically within an organization. So if I know that if I send an email to person A, like the secretary, who does that get passed on to and what is their connection to it? And if I can figure out that information flow, then I can figure out ways around it to make that happen. So a great example of this is tying in with the out of office reply. So I don't know if you set one up, but when you have an out of office reply, often you're saying stuff like, hey, I'm out of office. And you're so excited that you're out of office and you get to tell everyone that you're out of office and not available. So you tell them where you're going, why you're going there, how long you're going to be gone, who to contact when you're not there, and all of these type of things. And what will happen is then an attacker can then formulate a plan to say, to attack either you or your office while you're apart from each other, pretending to be the other person and to get a gift card sent to them or some other scam. Your finances, yes. It's not always about a cash score, but at the end, money does like to change hands. So this could be your credit or your business/organization's credit that they're after, savings accounts, etc. So what are some of the types of attacks? We're not going to spend any time on these other than just to list some of them. So phishing, which is fraudulent emails or messages. Spear phishing, which is very targeted phishing. It's aimed at specific individuals or organizations. Vishing, which is voice phishing, so manipulative phone calls that happen constantly, it seems. Smishing, which is text messages designed to trick recipients into clicking malicious links. This has also started to skyrocket as the programs that they built this off have become. I think one of the biggest issues here is the way that our phone systems are put together, but that's another problem in itself. Pretexting. So using fabricated scenarios to persuade individuals to divulge sensitive information. Baiting, often enticing incentives like free software or USB drives to lure victims into compromising their security. One of the best tactics is to take a USB, label it as passwords, and leave it in a public bathroom. And on that USB, you have a program, and then you have just the text file with some random passwords in it to make the person not even realize what they found. They plug it in, it installs instantly the software that's now logging your computer, and you don't know what it is, so you just toss it on the desk and go about, no idea that you've infected your computer. Tailgating, gaining unauthorized access and physical access by following an authorized individual into secure locations. Chris did this last week or the week before. He was supposed to be meeting with a client that was extremely secretive, and he could not get a hold of anyone to get into the building. And so he used his clipboard and a pen and maybe his laptop, I can't remember, and waited for someone to walk out the door and just said good morning and walked in. And the person was super excited to see him show up in his office, wondering how he had got into the building. Quid pro quo, so offering a benefit in exchange for information or access, such as posing as IT support to gain passwords or Microsoft support, etc. So that's not an exhaustive list at all. That's just sort of a quick once over of different types of attacks. So what can we do with this? I want to not just leave you with that, but I want to give you some practical tips of ways that you can protect yourself right now, today. So workplace analysis. If I was to walk into your office or even walk by your desk, what information can I gather about you? So that's just a to-do item. If I walk into my office, what kind of information is here that many of us work from home, so it's a little trickier because we're not going to change that. But if we do have people that we don't know in our home on an ongoing basis, how can we protect ourselves so that we're not giving away all that information? Social analysis. So how much information can I gather about you online? One of the things we do is a digital footprint analysis. So we spend half hour, an hour digging into finding how much information we can get about a particular individual online. And the interesting thing about that, we did a workshop and we had a part of the workshop, we did digital footprints on everybody. And the one fellow was like, you're not going to find anything about me online. I'm not online. I have no social. I have no nothing. And we said, you're right. You have put nothing about yourself up online, but your daughter sure likes to talk about you. And there's a ton of information on you online from your daughter. And he had no idea. So he was off to talk to his daughter about posting so much about him online. Passwords. What can we get from a Teams meeting on our cameras? All of that information that's about us that we don't even realize that we're sharing at any given time. If you go on learnonlinesecurity.com, you can learn more about the digital footprint under training if you're interested in that. So travel is a huge one. When we travel, it's really easy to give away information. The single largest area where we're affected by social engineering is travel. So media notifications of I was here, where our devices alert potential attackers of our whereabouts. One of the things that we used to do all the time when we traveled, oh, I got my crazy RV t-shirt on right now, is that we wouldn't tell anyone where we were at any exact moment. We would always post a day or two later after we had left a particular area. It's not as exciting because, we want to tell people right now, hey, look where I am at this second. But if it's public, even if it's not public, it's still public because all of those servers, everyone that's a part of managing those servers online still has access. So any information that's shared online has some level of being public. But specifically, if you're sharing on Instagram all the time with everybody and be like, hey, I'm here right now, I'm in the Bahamas, it opens you up to a whole variety of different attacks like kidnapping or collecting you for a ransom or any of those things that we don't like talking about. So post vacation pictures after you've left the location and utilize a data blocker. I think I've got them right here, actually. I do for once. Data blockers are these little things. You can get them on Amazon. See if I can hold this up in a way that, oh, I'm little, aren't I? Okay, I'll show you afterwards. But data blockers are these little, I should actually have a picture of them on my screen, but they're these little pieces that go in between where you charge. So you plug into them and they turn off the data transfer wires in your charging cord. So all your charging cord can do is to charge. And why is that important? Well, especially in places like an airport, it's really easy for me to put a cord or something in the wall. Someone comes along, be like, oh, well, there's a cord here. I'm not even going to bother to get mine out. I'm just going to plug into this one. And unbeknownst to you, that charging block or that cord is actually a transmitter, and your phone is instantly duplicated onto someone else's device. So data blockers prevent that from happening. The out of office reply. No one knows if I'm in or out of the office except those who should know. And those handling matters in my absent automatically intercept the questions of where is he questions. So the scenario where this is used is if I am at a conference and I'm speaking, what happens is the person pulling off the scam will then call the office and be like, or send an email from an email that looks like it's from my personal email. And they'll say, hey, I'm just about to run up on stage. I realized, you know what, we should give away some cool prizes with this. Can you quickly just grab some gift cards for me? Send them over to me. I don't have access to my work email right now, so I'm just sending this from my personal email. But I need to get up there in like half an hour. So if you could just rip those over to me, that would be real great. And so that's sort of a preface of it. And it sounds really ridiculous, but at the same time, I know of people who have gotten to the cashier checkout before they were just like, wait a minute, why am I buying gift cards? This is ridiculous. So one of the ways around that, especially in an organization or in a family, to get around deep fakes or some of those other things is to utilize a passphrase. So understanding that I'm going to be out of the office, this is the only person who can authorize things. And if I do contact you, I'm going to be using this particular passphrase. So what if it gets out that you are out of the office? First rule, verbally confirm text or email requests from you or your staff. This is getting harder with deepfakes. Second, don't react immediately to texts or emails from your device. Typically, what we think is an emergency isn't actually an emergency. And one of the biggest tools that hackers have, or scammers, fraudsters, is urgency. If I can get you to do something quicker than you can think, then I can get you to do what I want. Never forget to assign someone in the organization to cover while you're out. It just helps out. Another thing big is blackmail. We don't think about blackmail because it's just something that happens in the movies. But this is just a reminder that everybody can be exposed to blackmail in your organization. The more that I can learn about you, and if I can find some skeleton in your closet, then I can pull that skeleton and hang it over your head to get you to work internally for me within your organization. Could be a sick child, pending divorce, gambling debt, or even possible bankruptcy. The idea that we have to leave our personal life at home isn't really practical anymore. I know that's a big thing, just like, work is work life and personal is personal life, but we're people and people carry their personal life with them wherever they go. And so that's why we believe in training people as individuals so they can protect themselves, their family, their community, and the organizations and businesses that they're a part of. Just quickly about AI. AI is blowing up, and we don't entirely know everywhere that it's going to go, but it is quite powerful. One of the biggest spaces where AI is used in social engineering is to scrape profiles. So those who have access to models that are opened up a little bit more, they can then use those to quickly gather information about people, either off LinkedIn or Facebook or some other platform. It's also made the creation of spam much easier with better spelling and targeted emails. So it's not so much anymore that you're getting the, hey, send me 10,000 doubloons from the Prince of India, who just happens to be trying to offload $30 million worth of gold. It's now much more targeted emails that are designed around the way that you're thinking. And AI is, I think that's one of the biggest areas that is problematic, and that, we can hide how bad we are at spelling and send emails out like that. So going forward, that's the Coles notes, but going forward, is training important? And we fully believe that continual training is important. Most companies nowadays run a mandatory sort of free or run a mandatory video course. Takes about 30 minutes to complete, and that's it. Um, the goal is just to really check things off for insurance companies. But the fact is that most people who are trained by online courses complete them in absence by clicking through the material, and especially if the course is being retaught for annual certification. And I know this. I have friends in large organizations that's what they do. It's the same thing every year. They said they could do it blindfolded. By comparison, most school divisions require teachers to attend in-person training, personal development days. So we believe that if we can teach you to defend yourself against costly social engineering attacks, we can do that online. So
You were gonna show us the charging thing.
yes, okay. Now that I've got the thing out here, I've got a couple different ones. So I'll hold it in front of myself. You can see how small that is. It's just called a data blocker. Oh, that one there. Data blocker, data blocker. And there's USB-C ones too, which are smaller. So I've got both of them here. And all it does is you plug into this, and then this plugs into any sort of port. And it's kind of the same idea as, they have skimmers for credit cards, like a credit card skimmer. They have charging ports, and they have cables that have Wi-Fi and everything attached to them. And so by utilizing them, you actually just download all of your information to the attacker who's sitting there on a laptop somewhere, and you have no idea that they're doing that. Same idea with like free Wi-Fi in coffee shops and stuff like that. It's super easy for me to create a free Wi-Fi account. Well, I just want to say thanks for joining us. We are having these workshops every second week. Come check it out, and appreciate your time this afternoon.